Mr. Altman. Now, I'm going to count this as a highlight recently. I know the work that you've done, and you're really one of the people that are moving AI. And now it's an opportunity. I was excited to meet you. And now people ask me, it's like, if you're going to talk about AI, and now I get to ask you, I mean, like the expert, some people are worried about AI or whatever. And I'm like, what about the singularity? So, the people like that, if you would address that, please.
Thank you, Senator, for the kind words and for normalizing hoodies in more spaces. I love to see that. I am incredibly excited about the rate of progress, but I also am cautious and I would say, like, I don't know, I feel small next to it or something. I think this is beyond something that we all fully yet understand where it's going to go. This is, I believe, among the biggest, maybe it'll turn out to be the biggest technological revolutions humanity will have ever produced. And I feel privileged to be here. I feel curious and interested in what's going to happen. But I do think things are going to change quite substantially. I think humans have a wonderful ability to adapt, and things that seem amazing will become the new normal very quickly. We will figure out how to use these tools to just do things we could never do before. And I think it will be quite extraordinary. But these are going to be tools that are capable of things that we can't quite wrap our heads around. And some people call that, as these tools start helping us to create future iterations, some people call that singularity, some people call that the takeoff. Whatever it is, it feels like a sort of new era of human history. And I think it's tremendously exciting that we get to live through that and we can make it a wonderful thing. But we've got to approach it with humility and some caution.
Protecting people from having their likenesses replicated through AI without permission. And even if you all pledge to do it, our obvious concern is that there will maybe other companies that wouldn't. And that's why I think as we look at what these guardrails are, the protection of people's digital rights should be part of this.
I think this is a big issue, and it's one coming quickly. I do not believe, I think there's a few areas to attack it. You can talk about AI that generates content, platforms that distribute it, how takedowns work, how we educate society, and how we build in robustness to expect this is going to happen. I do not believe it will be possible to stop the generation of the content. I think open source, open weight models are a great thing on the whole and something we need to pursue. But it does mean that there's going to be just a lot of these models floating around that can do this. The mass distribution, I think it's possible to put some more guardrails in place, and that seems important. But I don't want to neglect the sort of societal education piece. I think with every new technology, there's almost always some sort of new scams that come. The sooner we can get people to understand these, be on the lookout for them, talk about this as a thing that's coming and then a thing that's happening, I think the better. People are very quickly understanding that content can be AI generated and building new kinds of defenses in their own minds about it. But still, if you get a call and it sounds exactly like someone you know and they're panicked and they need help, or if you see a video that is like the videos you talked about, this gets at us in a very deep psychological way. And I think we need to build societal resilience because this is coming.
Mr. Altman, what has been the most surprising use for ChatGPT you've seen? What are applications that you're seeing that are surprising?
People message ChatGPT billions of times per day, so they use it for all sorts of incredibly creative things. I will tell one personal story, which is, as mentioned earlier, I recently had a newborn. Clearly people did it, but I don't know how people figured out how to take care of newborns without ChatGPT. That has been a real lifesaver.
So I will tell you a story that I've told you before, but my teenage daughter several months ago sent me this long, detailed text, and it was emotional, and it was really well written, and I actually commented, I'm like, wow, this is really well written. She said, oh, I used ChatGPT to write it. I'm like, wait, you're texting your dad, and you don't, it is something about the new generation that it is so seamlessly integrated into life that she's sending an email, she's doing whatever, and she doesn't even hesitate to think about going to ChatGPT to capture her thoughts.
I have complicated feelings about that.
Well, use the app and then tell me what your feelings
Okay.
are. Google just revealed that their search traffic on Safari declined for the first time ever.
They didn't send me a Christmas card.
Will ChatGPT replace Google as the primary search engine, and if so, when?
Probably not. I mean, I think some use cases that people use search engines for today are definitely better done on a service like ChatGPT, but Google is like a ferocious competitor. They have a very strong AI team, a lot of infrastructure, a very well-protected business, and they're making great progress putting AI into their search.
All right, so a question that I have spent a lot of time talking to business leaders, CEOs in the tech space, AI, and one question that I've asked that I get different answers on, and I'm curious what the four of you say. How big a deal was DeepSeek? Is it a major, seismic, shocking development from China? Is it not that big a deal? Is it somewhere in between? And what's coming next? And let's each of the four of you.
Not a huge deal. There are two things about DeepSeek. One is that they made a good open source model, and the other is that they made a consumer app that, for the first time, briefly surpassed ChatGPT as the most downloaded AI tool, maybe the most downloaded app overall. There are going to be a lot of good open source models, and clearly there are incredibly talented people working at DeepSeek doing great research, so I'd expect more great models to come. Hopefully also us and some of our colleagues will put out great models too. On the consumer app, I think if the DeepSeek consumer app looked like it was going to beat ChatGPT and our American colleagues' apps as sort of the default AI systems that people use, that would be bad. But that does not currently look to us like what's happening.
On what the rules should be concerning AI diffusion. NVIDIA has argued that we want American chips everywhere, even in China. Others have argued that we want to restrict at least the most advanced processors. I'm curious, each of the four of you, what do you think the rules should be, if anything, is to replace the AI diffusion rule? And Mr. Altman, we'll start with you.
I also was glad to see that rescinded. I agree there will need to be some constraints, but I think if the sort of mental model is winning diffusion instead of stopping diffusion, that directionally seems right. That doesn't mean there's no guardrails. It doesn't mean we say, like, we're going to go build a bigger data center in some other country than the US. Our intention is to build our biggest and best data centers in the US, do training in the US, build the models here, have our core research here. But then we do want to build inference centers with our partners around the world, and we've been working with the U.S. government on that. I think that'll be good. To this point, that influence comes from people adopting U.S. products and services up and down the stack. Maybe most obviously if they're using ChatGPT versus DeepSeek, but also if they're using U.S. chips and U.S. data center technology and all of the amazing stuff Microsoft does. That's a win for us, and I think we should embrace that, but make sure that the most critical stuff, the creation of these models that will be so impactful, that should still happen here.
Would you support a 10-year learning period on states issuing comprehensive AI regulation or some form of federal preemption to create an even playing field for AI developers and deployers?
I'm not sure what a 10-year learning period means, but I think having one federal approach focused on light touch and an even playing field sounds great to me.